gentlemen, it's Tuesday. You know what the fuck that means. It's the PD Skillz Show. And this week, for those of you at home watching on video, you see him in the background doing stretches. For those of you in audio land via Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and all our other partners, today I've got the one and only Mason Lucas, Freakshow. How's it going, brother?
I had to bring the shirt to represent.
Yes. Oh, I love that shirt. That's one of the looks that you used after I hadn't seen you in a while. You started using the full white.
I started doing the whole kabuki face, kind of like kabuki. I started doing that and getting more into the Asian culture and kind of being that Caucasian Asian.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
the
what?
Caucasian Asian.
You know what? And it was fun. It was a lot of fun when I did it, you know, and it was the progress, you know, you start out from something and you just keep going and you see if it works. You see if it fits in today's entertainment.
Yeah,
and I thought I did.
Absolutely. And actually, I was just going to say that to kind of take a trip down memory lane. You always had a very different style where everybody was trying to be a wrestler's wrestler. You mixed a lot of martial arts. Where did where are your like, I mean, I know I've known you forever, but for those listening at home, where did the inspiration for that style come from for you?
Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was the first one to get me hooked on it. At the age of 5, man, I was out there practicing on my own because I lived out in the country. I didn't have dojos. We didn't have dojos around. Like the closest town to us was Tillsonburg, and it was a half-hour drive. Yeah. So you didn't have any of that kind of stuff. So if you were dedicated like I was, I would make my own nunchucks and I would practice like Bruce Lee did. Yeah. That was the first weapon I learned, and then I'd watch all the Bruce Lee movies, and that was the time slow motion was coming out. So if you had that TV that did the slow motion, you'd be able to catch all the angles on how he snapped, how he punched. And then my love for martial arts just grew. I was a Ninja Turtle fanatic. I love Ninja Turtles. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Dolph Lundgren.
Hey, Ninja Turtles are my jam. I fucking to this day love them. I'll still watch every cartoon that comes out.
Bill, me too, man. I'm a comic collector, so I have pretty much almost every single Ninja Turtle comic book ever made, right? So, and I've been doing that as well, right? So, but one day I'll have to have you down and you can take a look at my collection.
Man, the last few times you've been down to Windsor, like, I felt bad that I couldn't make the things, but then I'm like, man, I'm going to want to hang out, and he's there working, and...
I would want to hang out, too. That's the thing. I want to hang out.
But you're stuck working, right?
I had the wife there. You should have just came down.
I thought it was gonna be one of those things where, like, because I find like when I go to wrestling shows, just even if I'm not booked to catch up with people, I'm like, fuck, there's almost no time to catch up because like everybody's busy. They got their shit. It's a work day.
Yeah, it is too, right? And when you're in the back and you try to catch up as much as possible, and sometimes there's only a couple people to catch up with. Because you don't really know the other people, and this
year's been crazy. Like because I mean, there's only been like up until this week, there's only been like tapings with like no fans. So, but every time you meet everybody, it's like it's been forever now. So like every single person.
Yeah, it is. Well, for me, I've been out of the game now for probably about 6-7 years. So it's just one of those. If I see them, we're talking, like it's one of that kind of
thing. Absolutely.
If I message them on Facebook or they message me, then we're talking. But to stay in contact, very few people.
It's hard. The world's so big, and technology's made it easier to make more connections than anybody really ever had. So, I mean, it's unreasonable to think you're going to stay in touch every day with all these people.
And you get older.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 42 in a couple of weeks. And I had to find a new avenue or a new interest in what I want to do for the rest of my life, because a lot of the physical stuff that we used to do now.
Yeah.
So
I get that. I'm getting older, but for some reason I seem to be getting dumber as far as the stuff I'll do in the ring.
because you try to still prove that you can do it.
Yeah, it's old dog syndrome.
It is. I got it too, man. I got it. I got a slugging job, and I just keep working and keep doing it, and my body just it doesn't, it tells me no sometimes.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. But like my other avenue that my new adventure is selling comic books, and I've been doing that.
And I do kind of want to talk about that transition. I mean, first, I mean, it's always been a passion, but first, what happened is, because I never really asked, what happened as far as wrestling? Was it just you had a date and time set and you were like, that's wraps, or?
It was injuries all the time. A lot of people don't know that when we were hardcore into CCW with Jay,
Yeah.
I was training twice a week, training guys twice a week, helping either Derek Wild or Cody Deaner, and I was bumping just as much as everybody else was, just to prove that I can. And for the amount of bumps that I took in a class that I shouldn't have been, I should have, like said, Macy, save your body. You got nothing to prove.
Yeah.
I just kept doing it. Right.
Yeah,
and then it's the injuries. And actually, you know what? The injuries are kind of slowed down a little bit. So I'm not as hurt as much. But at the time, it was the injuries. A lot of it was morale between wrestlers. That really got to me as well, is the morale.
I know there was a period of time, like I will say with confidence now, there are some people from our generation that were fucking garbage and they ruined it for a lot of people. But I will give credit to a lot of the younger guys now that I've been back. They are doing everything they can and making great strides to undo that bullshit.
Yeah. You noticed it too when you first came in, right? Like nobody looking at the eye, nobody.
I mean, there's still cutthroat competition, so to speak, but it's very more community based now. I don't have a problem with old school mentality. I know that that's long gone, but it was that fake old school mentality by the middle generation where they it was, because this is old school or this is tradition or this is the way, like, but they weren't even brought up that way.
That's right. I was more of when I was teaching, I was more of a compassionate person. I didn't believe that you had to call somebody, hey, dummy, do it again. And you had to insult the person to enough to where they just kept messing up.
I could be wrong, but I feel like
I was more of the go-getter. Yes, you can do it. Just do it. Stop thinking about it. Just do it. And I was more of that type of person because I wasn't the type of person that's going to sit there and bash you like that.
No.
And if I did, I really don't like you. If I
and
did.
Actually, it's kind of funny because I mean, obviously, like your wrestling style wasn't traditional. Obviously, your approach to training in that time wouldn't be considered what was traditional. I could be wrong. And I feel like when I moved to Tilsonburg, you were the one that made me throw out the soft wrestler handshake.
Yes, because it was one of those things where you can't. A lot of wrestlers, they do that soft wrestler.
Oh yeah, it's still there. I laugh
it's still there, and it's tradition. It is tradition because it's like one of those things where you're showing that person that, you know what, I'm gonna take care of you, right? Like I'm that person. I'm gonna take care of you. Me, I wasn't just a wrestler. I was also working 40 to 45 hours a week, every week, and hardcore wrestling all the time. So you know what? I was that working man. You know what? You shake
one
my hand.
One handshake for everybody.
Yep. You shake my hand like a working man that I am. I'm not just a wrestler. I'm also a father and a working man. So and that was my mentality to it. A lot of wrestlers are not gonna.
Well, now it's almost become like an inside joke. Like there's guys that do it, like they'll come in like unfortunately people like just listening won't see it, but like they come in and just a quick like, or like they'll literally finger shake, like completely mock it. That I can get behind.
Yeah, because that's funny.
Yeah, someone walks up to me in the locker room and gives me two fingers like that. Fuck, that looks wrong. But I'll shake them.
You know what? Unless we're in the showers, it might be right. Who knows?
So,
but yeah, it's. I really don't know any of the new guys. You would be more into the new ones because you've obviously wrestled
Yeah, I've stayed.
You were wrestling lately, right? Before COVID and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I really don't know the mentality around that anymore. I just knew when I was in it, that mentality. And I just remember the people that also helped me get better with over the years.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, to me, that mentality, like it's fucking dying. Like there's young guys with good attitudes that are just gunning that shit down and helping each other, and it's fucking awesome.
And I like that. I like to see that come back, because that's a camaraderie, and that's just to show you that we are not competition. This is not a competition.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stab you in the back later on just so I can make more money and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that way in the locker room sometimes. You know?
Yeah.
Guys are going to stab each other in the back. Good friends, no longer talk. You know, it's just, that's why I never became really good friends with a whole lot of those guys either, because to me also as well, it's like I kind of didn't fit in my own sense. I didn't fit
as far as I know, politics is what got me out of the whole PWX CCW thing, to be totally honest.
Well, also too, that when Jay was in PWX, a lot of these guys that Jay brought in that didn't know me at all thought I was one of you guys. They thought that they were like, this freak show, he's a backyarder. And I'm like, I'm not a backyarder. And he's like, oh, you got your training. I'm like,
well, that's the funny thing is I laugh because I'm like, if any of those guys that like, and that was the curse of that X division that Jay had. Because yes, I did backyard wrestling, and I've talked about that on a few episodes with guys like Reverso and Aiden Prince, the guys that I did backyard wrestling with, but we all got trained after that.
Yes. Like
that's what's funny is I'm like, I knew that stink was always there with Jay McDonald's X division, and like there were some guys who never broke through it.
But you were one of the guys that did, though. Like at least your name was clear from that little shit list.
Yeah.
You know, so to say, my name was clear. Like after I told them, I said when they asked me, Macy, where'd you get your training? And it was just like, well, I was trained by Johnny K9, Bruiser Bedlap. And I was trained up in Cambridge, and I had my first match with Sean Spears. You know, like me and him, we were roommates in college. Yeah. We both stayed up there, and we were roommates. We were like really close, good friends. You know, later on, you know, you kind of break apart and stuff like that. But life. I remember Ronnie. I remember, you know, Sean Spears before he was Sean Spears. Yeah. And you know what? Fucking, he's still, and when I watch his interviews, I still watch interviews with him because I'm proud as shit of him.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And you know what? He's still the same kind of guy, just thinks a little differently. Because when I see him in the interviews, it's like he's talking to me from the beds we used to sleep on, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. Same, you know, basically same guy, and that's good to see. Somebody stay true to that.
Yeah. And I stay, mostly now with wrestling, I'll stay true to the independents. You know, like the independents, they're so overlooked with some of these guys. I'm glad somebody like Cody Deaner has got in. Yeah. He's wrestling on TV now, and I really like seeing that. I'm not so sure about his character though. I like more.
I don't like the change. I'm the same way.
Yeah, I liked his redneck character.
I wish we could rewind him all the way back to Daisy Dukes.
You know what? But it's still the same sense. If you can pick up a woman with a mullet like that, like, dude, come on, man.
Okay, if I haven't talked about this fucking Cody Deaner situation and the transition on the podcast before, but maybe you'll agree with me on this.
Yeah,
because like, okay, we had completely Cody Steele. Cody's good looking fucking guy, had the fucking body
of it.
He looked a little like Edge.
Yep.
Like smaller tights, obviously. But then, and like I said, he was a good looking guy. He's everything you would have looked for in a wrestler. And then he like threw it all away. He like stopped tanning. He didn't look as defined, and he had that fucking mullet and that handlebar mustache. And for some reason, I feel like the women thought he became more attractive.
He became more popular. That was the thing. Like, it didn't matter.
He just had this fucking aura after that. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of like, yeah, high five the kids because I'm gonna bang your mom later.
He filmed he did in a couple, I think it was a festival or a carnival or something. He did like a Cody Deaner's cougar hunt thing.
Oh, did he? Oh, I wish
it's on YouTube. If you look it up, Cody Deaner cougar hunt, it's pretty fucking funny. It's an old video.
I'm gonna have to look that up. But usually, I've been looking up like for wrestling. I do like my Japanese wrestling. I like watching that, and
You
I
still
like
keep up with it.
In a same sense, just to watch, not train. But I do keep up with it because it's so much different than any other crowd or anything like that, and they got their own different style. I really wish I could have done that, but like,
well, now that makes me wish you were still wrestling now, because like they, on TV there's this whole forbidden door concept that's kicked wide open, and all these different companies are working together and all these styles are clashing, and it's it's kind of a good time for that.
Yeah. But it's also in the same boat too, where I learned to live without it, with wrestling and stuff like that, and you know what, in my area, they still have the Freakshow legacy. There's still people out there that know me, so I'm happy with that. I hear that every now and then.
Now, are you still in Tillsonburg?
No, I actually live in Delhi, which is about 20 minutes away from Tillsonburg.
Okay.
So I live in Delhi, and that's where I kind of like. We just bought this house, and then I kind of set up my shop here.
I was gonna say, I felt like you were in Tillsonburg when I was there.
I was.
Okay,
I raised my kids in Tillsonburg, but I went after being the wife split. Boom.
Yep. Then you went back out to Delhi way.
Yeah, I went to Delhi, and you know what? I don't mind Delhi. I like it. Very small town.
Yeah.
So and I had my last wrestling match here, which is all right. I was Mr. Lucas. I wasn't Freakshow. I was a bad guy, and it was like we wrestled the Care Bear, me and Evil Lynn. Remember Evil Lynn?
Yeah.
We wrestled the Care Bear, and I took the Care Bear stare, and it was
amazing.
A really fun show. My last 2 years of wrestling, I got a chance to play the heel, and I liked that a whole lot more because for like 13 years I played a face. So when I was able to play the heel, Jay actually loved it. He was just like, "Oh man, just stay and play a heel."
Yeah, I never really got to see you play the heel, because in that area it just wasn't doable.
No, not in Tillsonburg. But
even if it was doable, it would be a detriment to the product to do that.
Yeah. But in Delhi, we did it in Delhi, and I had rocks and sticks and stuff thrown at me and stuff. They were very mean to me.
So now, after doing the wrestling thing, obviously you've moved on to a big project that's looks to be all you, because, well, your name's in the title.
Yeah, and I got issues. I got issues, buddy. But no, yeah,
and not just the mental ones, but beautiful paperback ones.
Hey, everybody's got issues, but mine are for sale.
There you go. Love it. So
love it. Too many catchphrases. I come up with so much shit. I should write stuff for people.
I mean, it'd be a rookie reporter question to ask what made you get into it. It's obvious that you've loved comic books forever. When I first started rolling up into independent wrestling shows with my Superman tattoo, you were the first one to fucking shit on me, because the first one to shit on me. So I mean, obviously, comic book nerd forever. You've got them all up your arm.
You redeemed yourself by getting that Batman tattoo.
Well, yeah, I had to have both.
You redeemed yourself by it. Batman is a little bit cooler. All right, so
he's a hell of a lot cooler.
He is a lot cooler, and
his superpower is attainable. So it's like the one thing.
It's always who would win, Batman with prep time or this. As long as Batman, and the joke is, as long as Batman has prep time, he wins. Anybody. So
Batman versus Jesus. If Batman has prep time,
he has a day to figure out what the fuck, how to beat Jesus. And it's just a couple nails. That's it. Sorry. No, not sorry. Fuck that.
No. Good humor. So yeah,
But anyway,
what made you finally decide I'm gonna start fucking letting go of some of my stock, trade my stock, perfect, like, because obviously you still perfect your own collection while doing this. So what made you decide this was the route to go?
Well, it was just one of those things. It was after wrestling, and I met my new wife now, Melissa, and I was missing something. You know, you're missing something. It's a couple of years. You haven't really done nothing but just worked just to live, right? And you're not living.
No.
And I was just like, you know what? I want to sell my comic books, and I see Marketplace on Facebook and all these other avenues on how to sell comic books and stuff. And I've been getting interested. I'm interested, and then I start doing it, and I'm making some money off it, and I start liking getting to know the people, and we start talking about comic books, and I'm starting to meet new people, and we start doing, and then as we go, we start doing toy expos, little small shows, comic book and collector expos, very small. And then after a year of that, then we moved to Comic-Cons, and we started doing those. We started doing the cons, and just fell in love with that. And I knew,
those are a wild experience just to go to.
Yeah,
have your own space to just stay still, take it in, and have people come to you.
And and I was taking my kids to Comic-Cons for 5 years before I started actually, selling at cons. And we always had a great time. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to own my own comic book shop in my area, and be a successful person, because I know that I could do comic books 24/7, talk comics, superheroes, everything 24/7. I love everything about it. It started out when my dad brought down a box of his own comic books when I was like 8 or 9. He said, here you go, boys, read these. We read all those comic books, and then he was like, hey, after a year, he was like, hey, you done? And so we put all the comic books back up in the attic, took them down a couple years later, the mice got into them.
Oh.
But I still love superheroes. That's where, but I was starting to collect comic books here and there. And then actually going back to your one question, when I did is because I saved some comic books from my dad's collection that the mice did not eat. And one of them was Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 129, first appearance of Punisher. And this is when comic books are starting to skyrocket.
Yeah, that one's a banger. I know this.
Yes. So it came out as a medium grade, which is a 4.5. Which is medium, right? It's based out of from 10 to 1.
Yep.
And I was able to sell that for $500. Like, it was just one of those things where now what I used to love back in the day is now, collectible and cherished. It's cherished.
Yeah.
And then, there's the message. You want to make sure, like, there's everybody that's collecting now. Everybody collects, and you want to make sure that keeps going. You want to get to those kids. You want to say, keep reading, collect comic books. You like superheroes? This is the origin. This tells you where the superhero came from. Those movies, those are an adaptation, because it's not all based on origin.
All right, you know what? It's time for me to stand up for Hollywood, motherfucker. Because I wanted to actually talk about some of like the shows and the MCU. And
Go ahead, buddy.
When it's adaptation, I feel like everything anymore is adaptation, whether it's in the cinema, on print, because there's all these different timelines now, and everything, even in the print world, everything's so skewed. When people say like the MCU or the DCU, they're like, oh, like, the cinematic universes, they're like, oh, those aren't true to what the comic books were. The comic books aren't even true to what the comic books were.
That is true in some sense. Yes.
And now we're reaching, I mean, obviously some could say this is just a corrector of all mistakes, but we're going into the cinematic portion of the, the multiverse.
Yes.
So I mean, Sony's had a shot at Spider-Man, and Marvel's had a shot at Spider-Man.
Yep.
And we're coming up on a spot where Marvel's gonna have a shot at the X-Men, where like everybody had, just like I feel like in the comic books when you get different writers and all this, and they're about to tie that all together. Once that multiverse is acknowledged on the big screen, isn't it almost the same thing?
It's going to be, once they do that kind of thing, they're going to try to stick. They're not going to try to stick to an origin. They're going to create their own origin from the existing story that they have now.
Yes, I've noticed that. And actually, you know what? For anybody listening past this point, if you haven't caught up on anything comic book character related on TV, spoilers. So fuck you.
Fuck you.
Because it's safe to assume you're caught up on absolutely everything, right?
I'm not even caught up on everything. I haven't even seen WandaVision yet because I don't have Disney Plus. I know.
I might get stabbed in my sleep for this by the mouse, but I'm going to give you my Disney Plus credentials after this.
We got Disney Plus. It's just the TV that we got. It won't play Disney Plus on it. It's one of those Sonys that does not play it. But
is it a smart TV?
Yes, but it's not smart enough for Disney Plus.
Well, no, because I was gonna say if it's a smart TV, you can pull it up on your phone and then hit the cast button to the TV, maybe.
Yeah, we could do that. See, the wife
never thought as long as you have it. I was like, that's a crime if you don't have it. I'm like, I figured you would just have it, but okay, we're good. The
wife holds the technology. You ask her. She has the power.
Through internet, has most of it already been spoiled for you?
The Marvel stuff?
Yeah.
You know what? Not really. I try to stay off the internet as much as possible because media, with everything that goes out, and now that media is on everything, right? Like, so you go out, like if I'm reading Incredible Hulk, I'm not going to go on to someone's YouTube channel and find out what's happening on issue 49 on Incredible Hulk when I only got 48 and I want to know. I
always get it spoiled by like a simple fucking picture, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those
I'm scrolling. I see a picture and I'm like, oh, okay. That was real bad for me for the Black Widow movie. Yeah. Because there was new characters introduced, and what's that?
Which spoiler? Which picture?
Oh, just the characters. Just characters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, not a result. Just scrolling through Facebook, and like just because they're trying to advertise the movie, but some of the people in the movie are new characters. So as soon as you see them, you go, well, thanks. Yeah. Didn't know they were in it.
But now when you're looking at those characters like Red Guardian and Taskmaster and the other Black Widow, now those issues in comic books, they go up.
Yeah.
Right? Like it, because now
people want to dig in.
If the fans take interest, that comic book's going up, whether it's a first appearance or it's a first cover appearance.
Well, it becomes like a wanted resource at that point. In a world of supply and demand, it goes up. Like I'm used to that with like trading card games, that like playable card games, where once a card becomes discontinued or allowed or disallowed, or like it just goes up and down in value. And comic books seem to do the same thing, where like what's popular.
That's right. So because of the Loki series, and you brought up this question, so I made sure I had comic books just in case.
Yes.
So with the Loki series, this is Thor issue 5. It is the first appearance of female Loki. So fuck you, spoiler, if you haven't seen it. Female Loki has gone up in price. This was a $4 book 2 weeks ago. Now it's $45.
Wow.
Just in 2 weeks. And this one is going to be worth more because I have a newsstand variant. And the newsstand usually is
variant.
So I got a newsstand. So here's the other kicker. This is a variant edition of number 5, which goes for a lot more than the one I just showed you. Right? So this is his twin brother.
About how much would you say that one goes for?
Well, this was $10 maybe 2 weeks ago. This is going for probably about 60 to 80.
Wow.
That's
and impressive.
It's one of those things where when you're in this comic book industry, like, you better be all in it because you got to keep up the information. This one here is Thunderbolts. This is going to be a new series that's going to be coming out, Tim, and you might like this because it's villains that are actually being the heroes.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm familiar with Thunderbolts. So
this book was in this grade would be $15, but now it's gone up to about $20 to $30 within, just because of hearsay. You know, it's just, you got to watch
because they're like, what's next now with comic books and like the cinematic universe? They're like, oh, what's next? People are looking at like, oh, what's in phase 5 and 6, and they're like, oh, I want to be ahead of the curve. So that creates waves as well.
Yeah, and I also found another book today that it was the first cover appearance of the Falcon in the Captain America outfit. It was just the first cover appearance of it. And sometimes that kind of stuff people want it. It's on demand.
Yeah. Now, which of the series, like, have you watched any of the series that have been out on Disney Plus?
No, because I haven't got Disney Plus. Like I said, we recently moved in. We didn't have Disney Plus at the other place.
Yeah, because when you said no WandaVision, I was like, well, that was kind of first. So like, nothing yet.
And I haven't seen Falcon Winter Soldier. I heard it was excellent.
Well, I mean, at least it's, you know what? At least they're small series, so you'll be caught up.
I will be
watching everything. Will be like binging one show. Like when people would normally turn on Netflix or Disney Plus and like binge a show in the multiple seasons, you can get through all that Marvel stuff. Just like treat each one as a different season.
Yeah. And I haven't been really hardcore into watching that kind of stuff because I've been more taking care of business in the same sense too. Right. Like, I as a collector, I still like collecting my own stuff, but as a seller, you gotta kind of still watch for everything that pops up and stuff like that. So I kind of spent more of my time into the selling than collecting, if anything, and to keep watching it.
What would you say was probably your hardest sell of all time? Like, what is there a time when there's a comic book where like you had to sell it? You knew it was the right thing financially because it was never going to be worth more, and you just went like, okay, like, but it was hard to let go of.
Okay, I had the New Mutants number 98, first appearance of Deadpool. It was a 9.8, one of the highest grades you possibly can get. And at the time when I got it back from CGC, I wanted to sell it right away. And it was a $1,200 book when I looked on eBay for the prices and stuff. And that's the thing. eBay is a big deal for when it comes to pricing. So I looked at eBay and it was $1,200 at a 9.8, and everybody was selling them at that price. So I tried to sell it at the price, couldn't do it. It was almost a year I had it, and then it dropped in price. Right. So it just you didn't have the buyer at the time. I still got $700 for it.
Wow.
But when Buddy first asked me when I got it, he says, I'll give you $900 for that now. You know, he gave me a much higher number than 700. And I said, no, I want to get full price out of it. And that was me being new into the game, right? Like I was a guy flipping comics, but now I'm kind of like, it's not a full-blown business, but it's a hobby shop. So you can see the work that I'm doing on the comic books, and I have a nice display in the back.
I feel like as a businessman, I feel like you're that guy that like, if a kid walks into your store, he's got the right glimmer in his eye and you know it completes his collection. You might bend a little bit for them.
I bend so much. When I'll do on my own Facebook page, Macy's Got Issues, we'll do bids and dibs, and you
Yes,
bid
I've
on
seen
them,
this.
or you can call dibs, and that comic book is claimed to you. And I got a really good crew members and stuff like that are around the area, and they're comic collectors as well, trying to hopefully I get more collectors in my area. But with the bids and dibs, I give them first dib on books, and they could be high priced, but they can get them low, right?
Yeah.
And I give those deals. So if it's a book that's like $4, I'll just say, hey, $3 at that time, or $2. If you buy these 5 books, I'll sell it to you for 10 instead of individually. They'll be like for
Yeah,
4.
you'll do them as a lot.
I do deals all the time, man. Like
and I see that. Like,
love
it's something
doing
I always make sure I follow that and I watch it. And I think it's great. And like, you do it often. There's times where I'm like, oh, because it'd be another collection to start again. Like, I haven't had comic books. Like, I've got like 1 or 2 maybe around the house packed that like I've managed to maintain. But
Yep.
over the years of moving, all kinds of stuff, I've lost so much.
Well, you know what? Maybe that once in a while you might want that book that's like, I want to put that in a frame. That looks super awesome. Yeah. I want it in a frame as a showcase. But when you get into comic book collecting, you're in comic book collecting, man. Like,
yeah, I find now I have more of the, like the thicker ones. Like, they're not like your regular comic book. They're like the thicker story style ones.
Trade paperbacks.
Yeah, I've found I've been like, people have gifted me quite a few of those. I've been reading a lot of those.
I have quite a bit as well on my spinny rack over here, like Bone and stuff like that. You get a whole bunch of stuff into it. Yep.
Yeah, actually, I think I have, hold on, do I got one in reach?
Do you have a comic?
Oh, I'm gonna make a bunch of noise. I know it's coming. There it is. Yeah, like this one. This is the latest one that I was gifted.
Yep, that's like a trade paperback.
Yeah.
Nightwing. How was that?
What's that?
How was that book?
When?
No, how was it?
I have not got to read this one. That's why it's in reach, because this is the next reader.
Oh, Tim, you can't read.
I know. So it'll take a long time, and it'll be a great adventure.
What's so great about comic books? You just look at the pictures, buddy.
I know. I'm like, so this guy hits this guy, and this guy hits. See, it's like wrestling. I could follow it.
And that's exactly it. It's exactly like wrestling. One thing else that's like wrestling.
Wrestling. It's comic books for people that can't read.
That's exactly it. Well, the one thing is, when I was watching Jean-Claude Van Damme as growing up, and I watch all of his movies, if you notice, almost every fight scene, it's like a wrestling match.
Yeah.
He gets the upper hand, he starts losing.
Oh yeah.
Starts losing, but he's the only one that does it. He's the only one that goes through that routine. I watch enough martial art movies. He's the only one that has that structure about him. It's exactly like a wrestling match. And that's what I thought was cool, because I watched enough Jean-Claude Van Damme movies to know that it was like, fuck, that guy should have been a wrestler.
I was just going to say, would you say he would be, like, if it could have happened, would he have been the easiest crossover from martial arts? Like, fight scenes, like Hollywood fight scenes, to professional wrestling?
I heard he's got a lot of control, but he'll stiff you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that he'll accidentally hit you. Like, a lot of people that done filming with him, they've complained about him actually hitting them. So shit happens. You're a stunt man. That's your fucking job. Take a shot in the face. Like, that's our job, right? That was our job. Stuntman.
Fuck, I connect most times.
I know.
Actually, funny story, because like, in order to, because like my girlfriend always asks me, oh, who you interviewing this week, and I'm like, oh, Freakshow. I'm like, You know, the trading card I have that's got my face all covered in blood. I'm like, that's from my match with him. Our fans bring the weapons match. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
Man.
Yes, I do. And fans brought the weapons.
Do you remember what I gigged on to get that much blood?
No, I don't.
The old school NES.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, of all the things we used in the match, you hit me with the NES, and I fucking gigged on that.
Man, that's a collector's item. What were we thinking?
Right? Well, I mean, a fan brought it. They brought it to the rig. We used it.
Oh, shit.
And I remember grabbing the ref and being like, tell Macy I can't see. Because I went way too deep. Like, I've got that picture.
You were just covered, both eyes.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Damn, I was I'd taken a shot of vodka and aspirin before the match. Because I knew, like, I was going to be bleeding. I wanted it to look good. And then I went entirely too deep.
But all you had to do was just go enough and then start.
Oh, I know this. It wasn't even by like sixth time, let alone my first time. But for some reason, sometimes you just in the heat of the moment.
Shit happens.
Yeah.
It happens, buddy. Like I got split up here one time by one of my students.
Mm-hmm.
I did a match with him. James. What was his name? I'm just trying to think of his name now. It was very stationed, but he did a double drop kick to me while I was on Wreck. That's it.
Yes, my former tag team partner.
Yes. Well, I was on all fours, and he did a drop kick to me in the face and split me open. Oh. And that was the first time. And yeah, there I gigged, and I didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
So that was the first injury I had, and then I did crack both sides of my ribs during wrestling. I one time was with Joe Montana. Was that his name? Joe Montana? Something like that.
That's a football player.
I think that's a football player too.
But it could be a wrestler as well.
It could have been a wrestler. Oh no, Rico.
Ah, yes, that's a wrestler.
That is a wrestler. You remind me of him probably. But yeah, he ran me into the corner. I cracked a couple ribs. I went to the hospital after that match, cracked a couple ribs, and then we went and did a Toronto art festival in a subway, steel cage, 20-man blindfold submission match the next night.
Oh God.
I was on fucking T3s, man. I wasn't feeling shit.
No shit.
That was the hardest drug I've ever taken in my life. Seriously, I don't do pills.
Yeah, hey, there's some people who can't even stomach them. So
no, man, I just know, like, if you have addictive personality, you know what to stay away from.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Smoking is my curse right now.
Yeah.
Smoking. Yeah, and I've done that since I was 15. I'm gonna go on 42, and I've done that, and I got to get rid of that too, man.
I switched over to the douche flute. So
yeah, I seen that. I noticed you got the douche flute out. So
yeah, but I mean, I haven't had a cigarette. It's a little bit better, I guess, and I haven't had a cigarette in years. So,
but that's great though, man. Congratulations on that, because you know what? That cigarette, that's once you're in, that's a hard thing to quit.
Yeah. Oh, especially after blazing, like, because I mean, obviously, I actively blaze during the show, so I need some sort of smoke going at all times, just because I'm like that force of habit.
That's right. Exactly. It's like having a cigarette and a coffee at the same time. It's douche flute and mug. There you go.
Yeah, it's not a cigarette and a coffee. It's a fucking vape and a tea.
That's right. Exactly that, man. Exactly.
Because I don't even overdo it on the coffee anymore, because coffee makes me feel like I want a cigarette.
I don't do coffee after at least 8 o'clock. After 8 o'clock, don't do coffee. It's just, I don't know. I get times where I'm overtired, and I'll actually have a coffee to like bring myself up to normal tired and then crash. You're not an energy drinker, are you?
On occasion, wrestling days for sure. I'll admit to it. I usually need to pick me up wrestling days.
I don't know how you guys can take energy drinks. I could never take them at all.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like if it sounds weak as shit, but if I have one on an empty stomach, like my fucking brain's definitely like going. I like it, like, but it does what it needs to do. Perks me
That's
up.
right. That's right. Hey, if it works for you, it works for you. Me, my day starts when I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I go to bed early, 8 o'clock, 8:30. I
Shit.
love going to bed early and waking up. I like going to bed early, waking up early.
I like
do.
going to
That's
bed
my
late
go-to.
and waking up early, strangely, because I hate to miss out on shit.
I'm not worried
It's a
about
curse, but then like every 2 weeks I'll have a day where like I'll completely shut down. Yeah,
Yep.
the plant goes on shutdown. We're fucking swapping the dyes. We're like, everybody get the fuck out.
It's too hot. We all got swamp baths.
Yeah.
Everybody go to the beach, cool down in the water. Yeah.
Fuck.
I hear you.
Man, growing up in the Tilsonburg area, did you ever work in the tobacco industry?
Yes. Yes, I did. I worked in tobacco. I was a primer, and a primer in tobacco. A primer for tobacco is the guy that sits his ass on the machine and he picks his leaves. And the
Yeah.
farmer, and this is the thing, this is how tobacco works. The bottom leaves are the first ones that are ripe.
Yeah.
They're the first ones that go. So you pick those, you do his 30 to 50 acres of whatever he got, and then you go through the second row, you pick your second, or you pick your first, seconds, thirds, and then you have your tips. But yeah, I did it for 4 years. I've done it.
Does it suck ass?
It does. It does.
So,
it's hard work. It's hard work. You got to work.
I remember when I had moved to Tilsonburg. I don't know if you remember when I'd first moved there. I'd applied at some jobs. I wasn't having any luck. That's when I cut my hair. I had the hair down to here still. I cut my hair to try and get a job while I was in Tilsonburg. And then I got a call to do tobacco. And I was just getting ready to sign up to do that. And then JRW contacted me, who knew who I was. And I could have kept my long hair, which was the part that sucked. But I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I heard I want to dodge tobacco at all costs. Like, it was my like last resort. And then I got this little factory like job, and I was like, yes.
The one thing with tobacco growing up as a teenager, as a kid, you can make $85 to $100 a day.
Yeah.
Right? Some farmers will charge. I was making 85 when
and that was back then.
That was back then. And if you had a good crew, you start at 6 o'clock in the morning. And if you were done by 10 o'clock, you're done by 10 o'clock. You just made 85 to $100 from 6 until 10, 4 hours.
Gotta love piecework.
You gotta love that. So then when that's done, but it's every day. It's every day for a month and a half to 2 months. And it is great. It was great work for the kids in that community, but the kids in that community turn into a bunch of pussies. Want to work, and then that's why a lot of them will now get the offshore workers.
They get migrant workers and stuff.
Dads and Spanish guys, and you know what? Those guys fucking work. Those guys,
they bust their ass. Do you still talk to Keith at all?
Who?
Keith,
the tattoo artist?
Yeah.
No. Actually, I haven't talked to Keith in probably about 3 years or whatever. We just kind of went our own separate ways.
Oh, okay. You know? Yeah. No, I just remember because like I used to live with him when I was in Tilsonburg.
Yes.
And
with Joey Huck.
Yeah. And I remember like when people would get paid for doing tobacco, how busy he was tattooing on those days, like walk-ins.
Yep.
That
he's just making all sorts of money. Like even if it's like 15, 20 minutes, he's making $75 or something like that off these guys. Whatever amount of money.
Did he do any of the work on you?
he did a lot of work on me, but I stopped going to him because his art style was I was changing my art style.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and
Like,
I've noticed that different artists have different styles.
yeah, and he wasn't my stylist anymore. I was more or less going to him over the years because he was a good buddy and he was a friend.
And you know what? Out there, he was the tattoo artist out there.
He was.
Like locally, most people went to him. It's like,
Yeah.
there was a tattoo artist, there was a stripper at lunch. Like
At the Royal.
You got it. I fucking tell people about that all the time. I was like, you wouldn't believe it. There's this bar. They have a stripper, and it's only at lunch and only at dinner.
It's only at dinner. And you know what? The Royal made the best fucking meatloaf and mashed potatoes and gravy ever. And you got a couple pair of double D's in your face. Fuck yeah, give me a couple beers, a shot, and then I'm going back to work.
Oh man, no, that shit used to make me fucking hysterical. Cause I'm like, of all the times, they're like, yeah, we get a stripper during mealtime.
Yes, you can get a lap dance. You can get an erection right before you have to fucking punch into work again. It was awesome. And I would say,
Get
like,
yourself a stiff drink and a stiff lap. Be back to work.
Back to work. Can't do it, boss. Sorry.
Stuck under the table.
I don't know how that robot malfunctioned. Fuck.
And I just laugh because they'd like take their break and then go like read their book at a table. And have guys like,
Really?
yeah, they'd go read their book at a table, and like guys would be like hounding them on their break because there's only the one stripper. So when she's not on the fucking stage, like,
You know what, man? That place had strippers in it for 20 some odd years.
yeah.
It was.
Joey Huck was that guy one time.
Oh God.
Yeah, he's all loaded up. We're there for a fucking meal, and the stripper is sitting down reading a book, and he's like, I'm gonna go talk to her.
Wait a minute.
We just let it happen.
Was I with you guys? I'm thinking.
I don't know.
I've been thinking I was there for this.
Because I feel like Dan was there too.
Dan Vander.
Yeah, Vander to be continued.
Because there was a lot of them around there.
Yeah.
But Joey Huck, yeah.
But that shit was hilarious. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Tilsonburg. I will say that much.
The Royal Strippers on a Wednesday. Yeah, you can go there on a Wednesday night and get there's a couple strippers there. It was, yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess on a busy night they did have two.
Yes, they did have two. And
lunchtime was usually a one dame event.
And sometimes they danced.
Once in a while. Most of the times they just kind of rocked back and forth naked.
Yeah. And when you give them a toonie and they give you a loony back, you wonder how they did that. You put a toonie in your mouth and then you look up at the
only in Tilsonburg you get change.
Yes, of course. Where else would you?
Fuck. So with everything starting to open up, do you have anything lined up as far as comic book events that coming up?
All right, so there's a free comic book day. What we don't do right now is we don't do current weekly, monthly issues. We just handle just the back issues. Where your history of comic books. That's what we like to do. We like to do the history of it. Where we are right now with going forward, I'm gonna get my master business license, and we have a Shopify site that is going to be back up and running, and that way we can start selling mostly toward Canadians and then later on Americans and the UK and stuff like that. but it's pretty much it's it's only me.
Yeah,
So
one man. It's a
there's
one-man
lot, right?
operation.
There's grading, and plus I work 9-hour days.
Mhm.
So a lot of times when I come home, like today, I didn't do any comic book work because I was more or less worried about how this was gonna go. So
Yeah.
so other than that, once I get home, I work on comic books for a bit, whether it's grading comic books, it's pressing comic books, or it is pricing out comic books. I'm always doing something, and it's always moving forward, just like the comic book shop and other things that I'm going to start advertising for the public. So I am very private. It is a hobby shop for
Yeah.
now until I get a big enough fan base where I can do a full shop, satisfy my local customer needs, and and just have fun with it. Just enjoy life and just be like that comic book person. Be that person that enjoys when they fucking go and do a job, they fucking enjoy it.
Yep. The
You know,
the
that
dream.
yeah, just enjoy the job, man. Like there's maybe a couple people out here that watch your stuff that, you know what, if you don't enjoy your job, do it fucking now, because you might not get another chance, Tim. We might
Yeah.
not. You just
Nope.
do it, live it, do it now.
There we are.
Fuck, have another drink.
Words of wisdom from Freakshow. Well, we have hit that magical hour mark. I think we've blown past it a little bit. So we'll get
We can go 2 hours if you want, Tim.
I
We go
can't.
2 hours,
People
that's
won't
okay.
listen to me for 2 hours. They might listen to you, but they won't listen to me for 2 hours. So I will I'll cut it here. But I
Okay.
do want to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, obviously, after we wrap it up here, stick back for a minute. But obviously, you can see it in the background. And if you can't, because you're on Spotify or Apple, Macy's got issues. And I mean, that's pretty obvious. And you can find me at PD Skillz Show on Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Until next week, East Freakshow. I'm PD Skillz. We're out.
Bro, thank you, PD. Thank you.